Hello and welcome everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Became the Dark Emperor Part 1. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
House of Sovereigns, the Emperor and Empress Consort's office. Og, I should have known there was a catch to this job, honestly. I don't see how my grandfather could have done this. Leading an army into battle was much easier. The Emperor of the Unified West sat behind his desk, going through the mountain of paperwork, muttering under his breath about how his wife was able to escape the abomination of paperwork while he was stuck with it, and about how unfair it all was. He'd come a long way since his days as a Konoha genin at the age of 18. He was no longer the ramen-eating, orange-loving knucklehead who screamed that he would one day be Hokage. His experiences in the West had shaped him, forged in the crucibles of war, trained in the ways of shinobi and samurai. Standing 6 feet tall with a wiry, muscular frame, his face is a carbon copy of his father's. The whisker-like marks on his face, which indicated he was a Jinchuriki, had vanished. His blonde hair had turned a reddish color, indicating that he was of Uzumaki blood, and his facial stubble was also the same color. Blue eyes revealed intelligence as well as ruthlessness when necessary. His clothing style evolved as well. He stopped wearing orange, which screamed "kill me," and started wearing mostly black, which goes with everything. The Emperor wore a white shirt with a tight collar and sleeves rolled up to his elbows, a black vest, pants, and boots as he had done since childhood. His long coat remained on the hanger, and his black cage-style hat hung next to it. The hat was mostly used to conceal his identity when he traveled abroad, which he did frequently. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Emperor of the Unified Western Empire, sighed. "Screw this," he grumbled. He channeled his chakra by making a cross with his hands and saying, "Kage Bushin." 5 shadow clones appeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto stood up and took his long coat from his seat. "Finish the paperwork, because I'm going for a walk." "Yes, boss," the clones agreed as they began their work. Naruto walked down the halls of the House of Sovereigns, his long coat fluttering in the breeze. Servants bowed to him as he passed, and Naruto responded with a head nod. Because it was past noon, his wife could only be in the palace gardens. He ran into his senior advisor as he rounded the corner. A tall, tan walking mountain of muscle, with bleached blonde hair and a matching mustache. His hideite was wrapped around one massive bicep with the Imperial insignia, the 4-symbol seal. "Afternoon, eh?" Naruto said to the older man. Former Kumo Raikage-turned-advisor grunted. "Chief, how did the Kumo Raikage end up in the West as Naruto's senior advisor?" I had been deposed a year before by Orochimaru, who had installed a puppet ruler in his place. The new Raikage's first order of business is to eliminate his predecessor, and his brother, Killer Bee. Naruto, as Emperor of the West, had a strong spy network in the East, and it was through them that Naruto learned of the coup while visiting Gaara and Suna. With Hinata by his side and the help of his elite guard, personal bodyguards, and the Demon's Gate Jutsu, Naruto arrived just in time and slaughtered the Kumo Anbu, saving Anb's lives as well as the lives of A's loyal supporters. Imagine their surprise when they learned that the Emperor was the former Kyuubi Jinchuriki when they returned to Suna. Even A and B were aware of the exploits of the one who united the lands under a single banner. Naruto then offered A and B political asylum within the empire. A and B accepted Naruto's offer, with A serving as the young emperor's senior advisor and B hanging around the trading post of Rara, 30 miles from Cumin. "Are you avoiding your responsibilities yet again, Chief?" I asked dryly. "Duties," Naruto retorted. "Have you seen the mountain of paperwork on my desk?" I shivered. "Don't remind me, I had my fair share of paperwork when I was Raikage. Whoever invented paperwork should be strung up." Naruto laughed. "I agree, and I left a couple of shadow clones to finish up. I heard from Fu that several Konoha clans have defected from the village. Is this true?" Naruto gave a nod. Fu, the 7-tailed beetle's Jinchuriki, was part of the United West's information network. Anything Konoha related was sent her way, and she delivered it to Naruto, his wife, or the 9 Tails herself. 4 clans and 90 Jounin-level shinobi should arrive within a week. "Do you have faith in the Hyuga and the Inoshikacho? I see you have your reservations, eh?" Naruto responded. The Inoshikacho first generation were childhood friends with my father, and unlike my former teammates, their children never saw me as the fox. As for the Hyuga, aside from the fact that they despised the Uchiha, Hinata's mother was close friends with my own mother, and Hayashi saw her as an equal. Despite Sarutobai's efforts to stunt my growth in order to turn me into a weapon, those 4 men looked out for me in I nodded, having witnessed Naruto's treatment as a village outcast solely because he possessed the most powerful of the tailed beasts. Even B and Yujiro were not treated so harshly. In his opinion, the people of Konoha were complete morons, preferring a traitor over a hero. After the Uchiha retrieval mission, once it was revealed what had happened through Gaara and Suna, public opinion of Konoha had plummeted. Despite all of its bravado and its alleged will of fire, Konohagakure no Sato was known as the village that rewards traitors. For the fire daimyo, Tsunade, and Jiraiya, their names were synonymous with the words hypocrite and backstabber, and for Sasuke Uchiha, his name was synonymous with traitor. Naruto had discovered that the Konohagakure High Council had not only promoted Sasuke to Jounin, but had also activated the CRA through his intelligence network posing as merchants from the Pikara merchant house. Hayashi Hyuga and Inoichi Yamanaka were opposed to their daughters marrying the Uchiha. Hayashi and Inoichi retaliated by handing in their hidayates and storming out of the council chambers after Tsunade threatened to strip them of clan status and revoke their shinobi registrations. Shikaku and Chusa soon followed, turning in their hidayates and joining the Hyuga and their longtime friend. Hayashi had been in contact with Imperial spies and had gotten word to Hinata, unbeknownst to Tsunade, and the other pro-Uchiha members of the council. After consulting with Naruto, he agreed to grant political asylum to the Hyuga and anyone defecting from Konoha. Those four and their families kept an eye out for me in Konoha, Naruto continued. Their children did not grow up seeing me as a demon, and Lord Namikaze always repays his debts, I added. The young emperor smiled and nodded. Plus, Konoha's reputation had already taken a hit when they banished me and favored the Uchiha. The village will be crippled even more with the loss of 4 major clans. You know Konoha isn't going to take this lying down, I predicted. They already have, Naruto responded. As you are probably aware, the unified West and yours truly are a hot topic in the East. They are aware of my exploits and my strength, which is greater than the legendary Sannin combined. If Konoha attacked the defecting clans who were traveling with the Pikara merchants on their way to the coast, a nod of agreement was given. It would spark an international incident and cause Konoha to look foolish by attacking an unarmed convoy. Impressive, Chief. Naruto smiled. Thank you, I'll be at the gardens if you need me. I smirked, nodded knowingly, and walked away in the opposite direction. Palace Gardens are part of the Imperial complex. The Empress Consort of the United West's favorite spot was the Palace Gardens. Her husband had built it for her, sourcing rare flowers from both East and West. Naruto had it done for Hinata as a wedding gift because his wife loved flowers, and it was located at the back of the complex. Kimen had several gardens and parks, but these were only for the Emperor's use. The Empress Consort of the West sat beneath one of the trees. She was enjoying the spring day by reading a romance novel in the shade of the trees. She and her husband were the same age. Her hair, which had been long during the Unification Wars, had been cut short again. She was taller than he was when they were both Konoha genin, standing at 5 feet 7 and several months younger. Her pupil-less lavender eyes identifying her as a Hyuga. She was dressed in her standard medic nin uniform, which was a black shinobi shazoku with a crimson lotus decal on the left breast. A fishnet shirt was hidden beneath the shazoku. The outfit was completed by a black jounin flak vest. Hinata Namikaze, like her husband Hinata Hyuga, had come a long way since Konoha. When the Uchiha were pardoned and Naruto was banished, her father sent Hinata along with him to prevent the Hyuga Council from branding her with the caged bird seal. She, too, had been forged in the fires of war in the years since her exile, having become Naruto's second-in-command. She was also the creator of the Medic Ninja program, which was instrumental in Naruto's victory in the Unification Wars. Karin Uzumaki, a clansman from Naruto's clan, served as her second-in-command while she ran the program. The Medic Ninja program produced top-tier medic ninjas who were later assigned to different parts of the empire. Karin was also a former Otagakure Kunoichi who had defected from Orochimaru due to his inhumane experiments on sick people in his pursuit of immortality. Hinata was trained in assassination arts by Yujiro Niai, as well as political intrigue by the elderly Sanchi, in addition to being a highly skilled medic. Because she was the third Kitsune Sannin, the soldiers and the people referred to her as the Lady and Princess of Foxes. She kept reading her novel as she sensed her husband's presence behind her. She had become more adept at detecting his chakra signature. How come you can slip away from your hospital duties while I have to use shadow clones to get away from the mountain of paperwork left on my desk? Hinata put down her book and turned to face her husband, who was leaning against a nearby tree. Karin took over for me at the hospital. Hinata said as she stood up. Unlike the wives of the daimyos in the east, Hinata was active as Empress of the Imperial nation as head of the Imperial Medic Corps, which was one of the main reasons she was respected by shinobi and samurai. Of course, she was not immune to the dread that was paperwork. Naruto approached her. "Really?" he asked, his arms around his wife's waist, a broad smile on his face. "Really?" Hinata replied, smiling back. "I missed you," she said, her arms around his waist. She had to leave Naruto in bed alone because she had to go to the hospital early for a meeting with Karin and Kokoro Yamada. The moment, however, was ruined when one of the Kunoichi from the Hellcats arrived. The Hellcats were one of several elite special forces units under Naruto and Hinata's command, and were led by former Kumo Kunoichi and Jinchuriki Ujido Nyai. The Hellcats were all female, with both Kunoichi and Ana Bugeisha wearing khaki flak vests. Both Naruto and Hinata were Ujido's former understudies, as she had taught them assassination techniques that came in handy during the Unification Wars. "Lady Hinata, Chief." Hinata laughed as Naruto frowned. He turned to face the kneeling Hellcat who had arrived via Shunshin after releasing Hinata. He recognized her as Ujido's number 2. "Yes, Kyumi, what is it?" he asked, irritated that his Hinata time had been cut short. "Please excuse my interruption, but I have word from General Nyai herself," the Hellcat responded. "A 5-man envoy from the east is en route to the complex, and General Nyai has identified them as Otagakure no Sato Shinobi." Naruto's scowl widened. "Who is in charge?" Hinata inquired. "General Nyai has identified them as the Sound 4, with Kabuto Yakashi as the envoy's leader. They should arrive in 5 minutes. Naruto gave a nod. "Please convey my gratitude to Ujido, and ensure that they are discreetly tailed to the complex." "Sir," the Hellcat said, and then vanished. Naruto exhaled a sigh. "I guess I'll have to take a rain check," he admitted. "There is no rest for the wicked, I'm afraid. Stay here, because your eyes are a dead giveaway." Okay. Rinnegan activated Naruto, seated on his throne, regarded the white-haired man with disdain and suspicion. Hirama was not present because he did not want her to raise any suspicions about her true identity. His face was effectively hidden by the cage-style hat on his head. To avoid any mishaps, he wore a mask over his face. The Imperial version, unlike the cage hats of the East, was solid black, with the cloth still white. Unbeknownst to Kabuto Yakashi, this was not Naruto and Hinata's first encounter with the cunning shinobi. Orochimaru had ordered Kabuto to inspect the Pikara Merchant House's wind outpost near the Wind-Fire border 6 months earlier, after hearing about the rise of the Western Empire and its leaders. Major Benisato Mochizuki, the commander of Naruto's elite guards, was what Kabuto discovered. The older woman had soundly defeated Kabuto, known as the Snake Queen of Kimen. Then there was Orochimaru. The Snake Queen fought the Snake Sannin while Naruto and Hinata stood on the sidelines, Benisato having been warned about Orochimaru's tactics in advance. But it wasn't necessary because Benisato was better than Orochimaru. The Snake Sannin was forced to flee. The white-haired, bespectacled Odo Shinobi bowed his head and took a knee. "Your Imperial Majesty," he started, "may your reign be long and prosperous. My name is Kabuto Yakashi, and I represent Otagakure, the village hidden in the Sound. I bring greetings from my master, Lord Orochimaru." Naruto responded by using his chakra to disguise his voice. "So, what does your master want from me?" "Lord Orochimaru has been watching the events here in the West with great interest," Kabuto explained. "He is especially impressed with how quickly you have united the lands, and he has sent me here to discuss the terms of an alliance between your empire and the Sound." Naruto rediscovered his throne. "Tell me, Yakashi... what would I gain if I joined forces with the Sound?" "You'd have the support of one of the most powerful ninja in the East," Kabuto explained. "Despite our small number, you would benefit most from Lord Orochimaru's advice. In other words, since Sasuke is off limits, take over my body and use my army to invade Konoha," Naruto reasoned darkly. The young emperor appeared to be deep in thought. "I'm sorry, but a military alliance is not in the best interests of the empire. Your Majesty, you misunderstood me," Kabuto began, but was cut off. "Oh, don't be a jerk, Yakashi," Naruto said. "Do you really believe you are the first from the East to seek an alliance? First it was the Rock, then the Cloud, and now you are number 3. The people have seen war since the era of my great ancestor, the Six Paths Sage." Kabuto's eyes widened. "You're a descendant of the Six Paths himself. I thought his only descendants were the Senju and the Uchiha." Naruto laughed dryly. "No, the Six Paths had only one child, a daughter, who is the founder of my clan. When the Six Paths died, they changed their lineage to make it so that they were his progeny, and tried to murder his daughter. Despite the Senju founder wielding the Makouten and the Uchiha wielding the Sharingan, they were no match for the Rinnegan's power and were beaten. Actually, it was a half-truth. The ancestor of the Uzumaki clan did not flee to the west, but instead settled in what became known as Whirlpool Country. But we're getting off topic, Naruto added. I saw the lawlessness of the lands and I gave them the peace they desired. I am merely a servant of the people, and even an emperor must listen to the will of the people. Kabuto nodded slowly. I see. In any case, Lord Orochimaru will be disappointed that you will not agree to the alliance. Your Majesty, I thank you for your time. Naruto excused Kabuto with a wave of his hand. Naruto summoned the commander of Shadow Company as soon as the sound envoy left the room. Kazuma, the head of the Kazuma clan and commander of the appropriately named Shadow Company, emerged from the shadows as if it were water. Hideo Kazuma, a bald, wiry man in his early 50s, was the first to swear loyalty after Naruto killed Rokubungi Oda. The Kazuma clan possessed a rare bloodline known as Shadow Release, which enabled them to travel long distances by using the shadows of various objects. Did you call, Chief? Kazuma inquired. Have your men tail Yakashi and the Odo envoy, Naruto said, removing his mask and speaking normally. Make sure they're on the first boat out of Kimen. I don't trust him ... or the snake. Between the snake and Konoha, I despise Orochimaru even more. Take care of your orders, Kazuma. Kazuma bowed his head. As soon as possible, my lord. Naruto frowned as Kazuma retreated into the shadows. Orochimaru was showing an interest in the Empire, and despite the fact that the snake-loving pedophile was on the back burner, he posed a legitimate threat. I'm not going to let the snake destroy Konoha, Naruto reasoned as he deactivated his Rinnegan and removed his hat and mask. That responsibility falls on me, he thought to himself as he looked at his watch. Damn, I thought I had more time before the council meeting. So be it. Minutes later, in the Imperial Council chambers. The council hall inside the Hall of Sovereigns was as large as Konoha's council chambers. The council chambers were made up of 3 long tables, the first of which housed the Emperor, Empress Consort, and their advisors. 2 tables, one on either side of the Emperor's table, faced each other with 6 seats on each side. Naruto and Hinata personally selected the council to serve as ministers in their respective fields. The meeting was uncomplicated. Apart from an uprising of Oda's loyalists, which was quickly crushed, and the financial situation in the southern Badlands, there was nothing noteworthy to report. It's a good thing they only met 3 times a month. Naruto and Hinata sat next to each other at the head table, and Kurama, in her human form, were standing next to Hinata. Takuma Uzumaki, the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan, stood next to Naruto. Takuma was Takuma's uncle, and Kushina was his older sister, because the Uzumaki clan was known for their Fuinjutsu. Takuma was a master of Fuinjutsu, unlike Kushina and her son, who both wielded the Rinnegan. Because of his natural fighting abilities as well as his short temper, he was also known as the Maelstrom of Whirlpool. When Whirlpool fell in the previous Shinobi War, Kushina, despite being Minato's wife, did not fully trust Konohagakure and ordered her brother to flee. Takuma fled to the west with 500 Uzushiagakure shinobi, half of whom were Uzumaki clansmen, and established himself in the northern continent. Takuma sought out a rising warlord with the same surname as his own, only to discover that the warlord in question was his own nephew. Takuma was enraged after hearing Naruto and Hinata's story, from his time in Konoha to being the scapegoat for the Uchiha's attempted defection, which led to his defection. However, Naruto had gained family and, more importantly, allies to his cause in the end. When Naruto unified the West, he was the first to accept a position as senior advisor to the Emperor, an Empress Consort alongside Kurama. The samurai, like the shinobi in both the East and West, had their own ranking system. An apprentice samurai was the same as a shinobi in training, and they were taught by the academy, which were imperial schools where aspiring shinobi and samurai learned how to fight. The imperial capital, Kurata Port, South Ikeyama, and Tears Point had the most schools. After passing a series of physical and mental tests, the amateur samurai were designated as Anisebushi, amateur samurai. It was Genin's shinobi equivalent. In contrast to the shinobi system, the Anisebushi would be assigned to a 3-man cell or apprentice to an elder samurai. The Anisebushi were eligible for promotion to Chukenbushi, middle samurai, after 2 years. Chukenbushi was the shinobi equivalent of Chunin and was the most common rank of samurai. They were the foot soldiers and archers who made up the majority of Naruto's samurai forces. The Chukenbushi had to prove their worth there. The Seibushi, elite samurai, came last. They are the samurai equivalent of Jounin, the highly skilled samurai, a position that would take the majority of their lives to obtain. The Seibushi were mostly Imperial military officers, people who both the samurai and Naruto had fought alongside and trusted with their lives. Some Seibushi were clan heads, while others were not. The Seibushi were the only ones who would take on a single apprentice or a cell of their choice. Both shinobi and samurai held them in high regard. Naruto himself belonged to this class. Sanshi, the elder samurai warrior and philosopher who had taught Naruto the ways of the samurai, stood to Naruto's left. In most cases, he resembled Danzu Shimura, a warhawk. The only difference was that he fought wars to protect his homeland rather than to expand his influence. He was also the defense minister. He was a powerful samurai who held the rank of Kodenbushi, the legendary samurai, even to this day. As Naruto and Hinata later discovered, he had traveled in the east in his youth, defeating Hiruzen Sarutobi, Hanzo the Salamander, and even the Sannin. During the Unification War, he invited Naruto to his village, and Naruto was so taken with the old man that he asked to be trained in samurai techniques. When the empire was formed, he was the first person Naruto invited to join the council. Despite his advanced age, Sanshi was held in high regard by both samurai and ninja. His granddaughter, Sana Sanshi, a member of Yujito's Hellcats, joined Naruto's elite guards. He was also the only person who could still kick Naruto's $$ 6 out of 10 times. Next up was Iji Kibagami, who came from a respected samurai clan and had family in Iron Country, which was useful when Naruto negotiated a trade agreement between the Empire and Iron. He was the first to join Naruto in his ambition, a hard-punching, hard-drinking samurai with a mouth that would make Teuya blush and hidden green with envy. He was the Minister of Samurai Affairs and a Saizebushi-level shinobi. Despite his bad mouth, he was fiercely loyal to the young emperor, honorable, and carried himself as a true samurai. It was also widely known that he and Kasumi Ehara had a romantic relationship. Baijimaru, his pet wolf, was by his side. Iji, like Sanshi, had a member of his family serving in the elite guard, his nephew Hideo Kibagami. Kibagami was followed by Kuta Chiba, the head of the Chiba clan and minister of shinobi affairs. The Chiba clan was a line of ninja who practiced a deadlier style of taijutsu that would put Rock Lee and Madogai to shame, originally used as an assassination technique. Takashi, like Sanshi's granddaughter and Iji's son, served as one of Naruto's elite guards, a high honor for the Chiba clan. In most ways, the Chiba clan resembled the Inuzuka clan, fiercely loyal to the pack. Kokoro Yamada, a childhood friend and fellow ninja, sat next to Kuta. She was the eldest daughter of a former nobleman and a mist refugee, and her attacks were fire release attacks, making her the polar opposite of Zabuza's partner Haku. She was a Tokubetsu Jounin shinobi, and the Minister of Health, having been chosen by Hinata herself. In an interesting side note, her bloodline enables her to survive an opponent's fire attacks. The Yamada clan was also known for being excellent healers, with abilities comparable to Tsunade in her prime. Kasumi Ehara, the regal mistress, stood next to the fire-wielding mistress. She was a Saizebushi-level samurai who held the position of Minister of the Interior. Apart from the elderly Sanshi who lived on the northern continent, the Ehara was the most powerful samurai clan in the southern region. Kasumi herself was a legendary warrior who had led troops into battle. Despite her age, she appeared to be in her 40s. Oda was about to claim Ehara for himself when her husband was killed by Oda's hand. Fortunately, Naruto's arrival put an end to those plans. Murasaki Shibaku, her best friend, was a popular author of romance novels and poetry, and Hinata was her biggest fan. In the east, it was also gaining ground on Jiraiya's Ika Ika series. Heiei Okajima, the head of the Okajima ninja clan, sat next to Ehara. The Okajima clan was skilled in ninjutsu, assassination techniques, and recon, and was nicknamed the Tengu due to his habit of wearing a Tengu mask to battle. They were the natural adversaries of the Shinto clan, who preferred open combat to covert assassination. Naruto had approached the Okajima clan's leader about forming an alliance. Heiei was so taken with Naruto's bravado and tenacity that he decided to join him. After the war, Naruto returned to the Okajima clan the lands that had been taken from them by one of the more corrupt daimyos. In exchange, the entire Okajima clan swore eternal allegiance to their new emperor. Ryuji Shinzen and his wife Haruka Shinzen, the heads of the Western Empire's premier mercantile guild, Pikara Merchant House, and co-ministers of finance, are on Hinata's right. Ryuji was originally a mercenary ninja, and Haruka had a knack for business and management. They were the first to financially support Naruto after Rokubungi Oda's death. When the Unification Wars were over, they established merchant houses, which served two functions: providing imported and exported goods throughout the empire, and in the east, while also keeping a close eye on the more unruly villages in the east. They now had branches all over the country, as well as several locations in the east, some of which served as intelligence-gathering hubs, such as Iwa, Fire Country, and Kumo, thanks to Naruto. Shinoda Wakaba, a former pirate captain and longtime friend of the Shinzens, came next, because his 10-boat fleet was originally used to harass and plunder both Oda's and his allies' supplies. Haruka was the one who had mentioned to Naruto the benefits of having a fleet of ships to back up his ambition. Now that the war was over, the fleet was being used to transport goods across the continent as well as in the elemental countries. In an interesting aside, the Shinzens and Wakaba were both in-laws, as the Shinzen's son had married Wakaba's daughter, bringing their families together. Katsumoto Kitahara sat next to Wakaba, a daimyo from the southern region who supported the people and the working class. He was deposed by a power-hungry warlord and sentenced to wander the lands until Naruto discovered him. He was a key member of the civilian council, and thanks to Katsumoto, his main support base was the civilians themselves. As a reward for his service and loyalty, Katsumoto's lands and title were restored to him. Given his passion for justice, it was only natural that he served as Minister of Justice. Shin Akazuki stood next to Wakaba. His hometown was in the continent's south. Shin, the council's youngest member, was 23 years old and had recently been promoted to Saizebushi. Shin is the son of Shinji Akazuki, a retired warlord who fought alongside Naruto during the Unification Wars. He is a formidable swordsman who can hold his own against Naruto in their occasional spars. In some ways, he reminded Naruto of Shikamaru, brilliant but sluggish. Rumika Tadu finished last. She, like Katsumoto, was a daimyo from the mountainous Lodger region in the north. Tadu was one of the daimyos whose land the late Rokenbungi Oda desired because it contained iron mines deep within the mountains. But after Naruto defeated him, she saw the wisdom in supporting him in his war of conquest. Her husband was the original daimyo until he was killed by Oda's men during a raiding party, forcing her to take over the role. Despite this, she was devoted to both her people and the emperor. At the emperor's request, Zabuza Momochi and Haku also sat in. Thought to have died in Naruto's first mission in Wave Country, the former Mist Swordsman and his partner had instead fled as Mist Hunter ninjas arrived, forcing the pair to leave high-powered blood clones in their place. Zabuza and Haku had fled to the west, where they met up with Bloodline refugees fleeing the purges carried out by Yagura and the Mist Daimyo. When Naruto arrived on the southern continent with his forces 2 years before, Zabuza had already established himself as a formidable warlord, with Haku as his deputy. Haku was the one who discovered Naruto was the warlord who had united the northern continent under his control. Zabuza was taken aback, to say the least. The little blonde runt who had confronted him on Tezuna's bridge years before had united the northern continent. Even more surprising was the fact that Konoha had betrayed him in favor of his traitorous teammate. Despite being a bloodthirsty sadist for the most part, Zabuza had a set of morals. He agreed to join Naruto on one condition. He would be the one to assassinate Kakashi Hatake. Naruto agreed on the condition that he alone beat the holy hell out of Zabuza before killing him. Zabuza agreed to that. Zabuza not only led his own unit, the Demon Brigade, but he was also the chief interrogator in the Empire's interrogation division. He also taught Naruto Mist swordsmanship, which came in handy during his conquest war. Sanchi swallowed and cleared his throat. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we adjourn this meeting, Chief? Yes, Naruto said. As you may or may not be aware, my wife and I have been in contact with the 4 clans who have defected from Konohagakure no Sato, the Hyuga, Yamanaka, Akamichi, and Nara. Accompanying them are 200 jounin, one of whom you might be interested in, Zabuza. His name is Ibiki Morino. The name was familiar to Zabuza. Ibiki, I'm aware of his reputation. He's said to be the best at interrogation and torture. Who is he? Inquired Iji Kibagami. Hinata explained, he is a Tokubetsu jounin. Some would call him a sadist. Oh, sounds like someone you'd like. Momochi Iji snorted, ignoring Zabuza's sour expression. Please proceed, Lady Hinata. His interrogation techniques are legendary. Hinata went on. Even when Naruto and I were in the Shinobi Academy, Ibiki was someone to be feared because he has the unique ability to cause great pain and suffering without resorting to physical torture. His interrogation skills rely mostly on the ability to torture the mind. His knowledge of human psychology is top-notch. Ibiki is a firm believer in gaining control over a person's spirit by attacking the mind. That much is correct, Zabuza stated. You could say I admire his work. During my 7 swordsman days, Kasama chose to kill Mist Cipher Division shinobi rather than allow them to fall into his hands. Charming fellow, Kasumi Ehara remarked dryly. Ibiki works with Anko Mitarashi, Hinata explained further. She is a Tokubetsu Jounin, like Ibiki, a former student of Orochimaru. She is a master of interrogation who, like her former master, employs snakes. She also enjoys dango and is a total sadist. How about the clan heads? IG inquired. My parents were friends with the 4 clan heads, Naruto explained. They, nor their children, saw me as a demon, unlike the rest of Konoha, and despite Sarutobi and the Konoha Council's efforts to stifle my growth as a warrior, they looked out for me in their own way. The first clan head is Hayashi Hyuga. You already know of the Bikoken and its advantages and weaknesses, as well as the caged bird seal. The Yamanaka, Akamichi, and Nara clans, better known by their team name, the Inoshikacho Trio. Ever since Konoha's founding, there has always been a team with that title, as they are famous for their teamwork. Hinata continued. First up is Ibiki's partner, Inoichi Yamanaka, intelligence specialist with a unique talent which is their clan's signature ability. Which is it? Kudachiba inquired. The Yamanaka can read the opponent's minds and search their memories, Hinata explained. Their signature technique is the mind-body switch technique, in which the Yamanaka can send their mind into a target's body, overriding the target's mind for a short period of time. He has a daughter, Ino, who was a former teammate of ours. The mind-body switch is just one of the many techniques the Yamanaka has at their disposal. The Nara comes in second, Naruto explained. The Nara are known for their high intellect and battle tactics, as well as for attracting hot-headed women, having low energy, and saying troublesome. The Nara's specialty is shadow manipulation. The Nara's signature technique is the shadow imitation technique, in which they can extend their shadow and merge with their target's own shadow, forcing the other to imitate the Nara's movements. Shikaku Nara is the clan head. And finally, the Akamichi, Hinata said. The Akamichi are the powerhouse of the trio, possessing great physical strength and the ability to convert their calories into chakra. However, their techniques drain their chakra while in use, and maintaining them during battle can be tiring. As a result, the Akamichi have very high chakra levels and must eat a lot in order to maintain those levels. Chusa Akamichi is the 15th head of the clan, while Chouji Akamichi is his son. Like I said earlier, these 4 clan heads did their best to help me despite Sarutobai's orders not to. They offered me shelter, food, and in some cases, a place to sleep. Their children did not see me as Kurama in human flesh. It is because of this that Hinata and I are going to grant them political asylum into the Empire. They should arrive by the end of the week by ship, Naruto said. Pardon me for speaking as the voice of opposition, Chief Kokoro Yamada interjected, but you grant the clans asylum. And then what? Automatic clan status right away. Naruto raised his head. Of course not, Kokoro. Just as Hinata and I had to work hard to get where we are, they will not be given a free pass. They will be on probation for 6 months, and only then will we accept them as one of the great Imperial clans of the Imperial nation. Is that reasonable enough for all of you? The council members nodded. Their emperor's terms were reasonable. Ig then raised one of his hands. Chief, if I were the Hokage, I would not let 4 clans of such power leave the village. Are you not concerned that Konoha might try something strange? I've already taken precautions in case the cripple or the hag decide to dispatch assassination squads against the refugees, Naruto responded. Are you aware that the Pakara merchant house has branches in the east, specifically Wave, Spring, and Water? Yes, the refugees had met up with one of the caravans on their way to the coast where the bridge once stood. And you know as well as I do that the majority of the merchants are some of the best shinobi and samurai veterans who had the honor of fighting alongside us. Ig nodded in agreement. Because you are unknown to Konoha and Fire Country, attacking the refugees while being escorted to the coast by our caravans not only causes Konoha to lose face with the villages who know us, but it also gives us a valid reason to go to Konoha and put Blade and Jutsu to asses, he cackled. Chief, you've always been such a sneaky little shit, glad to see you still have it. From you, I'll take that as a compliment, Naruto replied, accustomed to the older samurai's foul-mouthed tendencies. This from the same man who coined a thoughtful, if crude, description of his wife's demeanor. The only thing bigger than her tits is her heart. Of course, he said it in front of Kasumi and the other female council members, earning him a one-way trip to the hospital. For the rest of the month, he'd be in a body cast. Do you have anything else? Hinata inquired. The council shook their heads in disbelief. Naruto gave a nod. This meeting has been adjourned. After a week, the 2 Pakara cargo ships sailed past Kirata port and inland, each flying the flag of the unified Western Empire, the black 4 symbol seal on a red background. Only this time, the ships were not transporting goods from the east. These cargo ships were transporting refugees. It had been a week since the Konoha exodus, in which 4 major clans and over 100 shinobi had turned in their Hidayates and walked out of Konoha. Tsunade and the Fire Lord could not charge them with desertion because they had voluntarily left the shinobi forces. Hayashi Hyuga was standing on the first ship's deck. He hadn't seen Hinata in 6 years, having sent her away with Naruto to avoid her being branded with the caged bird seal. Despite his outward appearance of belittling his eldest daughter, Hayashi adored her, and sending her away was the most difficult thing he had ever done. But Hinata was head over heels in love with Minato's child, and sending her with him was the best option at the time. Hayashi's personal opinion of Tsunade and Jiraiya had taken a sharp turn at the time. Tsunade was Mito's granddaughter, and Kushina was her niece, making Naruto her great-nephew, while Minato had been Jiraiya's former student. Both blamed Naruto for the deaths of Minato and Kushina, when the Uchiha were clearly to blame, based on the reports he read that fateful night. Both had agreed to Sarutobai's plan to turn Naruto into Konoha's weapon, and when that failed, they chose to expel him from the village when it became clear that Hiruzen's efforts to stunt Naruto's growth had failed, even going so far as to place him in the bingo book with a kill-on-sight order. The 2 Sannin clearly disliked the Uchiha, but they chose a virtual traitor over a hero. Hayashi had not heard a single word about his eldest child in the 5 years since Hinata's disappearance alongside Naruto. Then word got out about what was going on in the west. A war-torn land where neither the Sannin nor the Akatsuki would venture was finally united under the rule of a warlord and his medic ninja wife, who were dubbed Emperor and Empress Consort. Caravans began to appear in Konoha, selling their wares as the Pakara merchant houses began to appear in several key locations. One such branch was in Wind Country, just across the border. Hayashi had learned from one of the merchants who worked with the Empire's information network that his daughter was still alive, having fled west and fighting in the unification wars alongside Naruto. Hayashi was unsurprised when the merchant informed him that Naruto was now his son-in-law. What surprised him was the Empire's surveillance of Konoha and several other villages in the east. The Empire was also aware of the tensions brewing in Konohagakure, which is why the Emperor and Empress Consort had reached out to Hayashi. If conditions in Konoha deteriorate to the point where the Hyuga and the Ino Shikacho are unable to remain, the Emperor and Empress Consort will allow them to relocate to the Western Empire. But there were 2 impediments in the way of the Hyuga clan's leader, the Godame and the Council of Hyuga elders who had supported the council, the same council that had forced his twin brother to take his place in the Kumo incident or face death, the same council that voted to brand Hinata with the caged bird seal, and personally train Hanabi to be an emotionless doll, should he decide to take the clan and leave Konoha to return to the west, the land of his ancestors. The council and their supporters would stand in his way. Hayashi and his twin brother, Hisashi, were both aware of this. The Hyuga elders were aware of this as well, as the Hyuga's origins were in the northern region, but the clan relocated to the east when the west became unstable, eventually settling in Konohagakure no Sato when it was founded. As a result, the Hyuga elders and their main branch supporters were removed from the equation. Hayashi's late wife was a skilled kunoichi who specialized in poisons as well as a flower lover, so poisoning their elders and supporters' tea was an easy task for him. Hayashi had wiped out the elders and their allies with the backing of the main branch and the full support of the cadet branch. When Tsunade demanded an explanation, all he said was that it was clan business, that he and his supporters had averted a civil war by eliminating traitors to his clan. The final straw came when Godame and the Konoha Council tried to compel his youngest daughter, Inoichi's daughter, the Snake Lady, and his nephew's romantic interest to sign the Clan Restoration Act. What's the reason for this? Sasuke Uchiha, it turned out, had taken a recently graduated genin under his wing and was teaching him the ropes. The orphan boy wanted to make a name for himself as a shinobi. What better way to make a name for yourself than to be trained by Sasuke Uchiha? Then, 3 weeks ago, when the kid made Chunin, Sasuke expressed his gratitude by shoving a Chidori into the kid's chest, instantly killing him but, more importantly, gaining the betrayer's eyes, the Meijin Kaiu Sharingan. The only problem was that his daughter, Hanabi, Cell 9, Anko Midarashi, and the younger Ino Shikacho trio had all been present when the murder took place. Of course, because Sasuke was protected by Danzu and the Konoha Council, the murder was swept under the rug and dismissed as justifiable homicide. Only the elder Ino Shikacho and Hayashi had supported their children in Cell 9, whereas Sasuke had both the Godame and the council on his side. Then, about a week ago, everything came to a head. Flashback. Konoha City Council Chambers. Inside the council chambers, the tension was palpable. On one side were civilian council members, merchants, and the wealthy elite of Konoha no Sato. The council's shinobi clan heads, Inoichi Yamanaka, Hayashi Hyuga, Shikaku Nara, Chusa Akamichi, Suman Yuzuka, Asuma Sarutobi, Shibaya Burame, and Kakashi Hadake, were on the other side. Their children sat next to their parents. Anko Mitarashi was even present at the request of the council. Tsunade Senju, the godame Hokage of Konoha, sat at the head of the chambers, flanked by her advisors, Koharu Udatane and Hanura Mitokado. Danzu Shimura, the warhawk and commander of the Rude NBU, stood in front and to the side of the godame. Standing next to him, smug about getting away with murder, was Sasuke Uchiha, now Danzu's protege, and the number 2 guy in the Rude NBU. What is the purpose of this meeting? Inoichi inquired. Koharu swallowed and cleared her throat. It's clear to us that there's a lot of tension in Konoha after that terrible incident with that Chunin that the Uchiha had studied under. Tenten repeated, dreadful. In front of my cell, Anko, Hanabi, and the Ino Shikacho, he shoved a Chidori into the guy's chest. We see it as justifiable homicide, Hanura said with a frown. Shikaku Nara muttered. Justified only because you sacrificed the Chunin to get the Meijin Kaiou for the Uchiha runt. You should watch what you say, Nara, Sasuke warned. I am the village prince. No, you are a blight, retorted the lazy Nara head. Even as Danzu's lapdog, you're too troublesome for your own good. Sharingan blazed as Sasuke glared at the Nara clan head, Jounin commander. I'm not anyone's lapdog. Nara, I am an elite among elite, and you should remember that, because I have no qualms about showing you what the Meijin Kaiou Sharingan is capable of. Then Sasuke jerked slightly. He found himself pulling a kunai from his pouch and pressing it against his own throat. Looking down, he noticed that his shadow was linked to Shikamaru's, the slacker of a Jounin who had used his cage mane to trap the Uchiha. Shikamaru threatened, "Threaten my father again, Uchiha, and Itachi will be the true last Uchiha." Tsunade had called for order before things got out of hand. Enough of that. Shikamaru SASUKAY ... both of you stand down. Sasuke had no intention of doing so, but Danzu's expression suggested otherwise. Shikamaru released the cage mane while he deactivated the Sharingan. This fighting is pointless, Tsunade declared after both parties had calmed down. We need to show the other villages that Konoha is still strong, that the will of fire still burns bright in all of us, despite our trials and tribulations. Hayashi and the Ino Shikacho were not pleased with the direction this was taking. As a result, we've decided to reactivate the Clan Restoration Act in order to rebuild the Uchiha clan, Hanura explained. Sasuke has already chosen Sakura Haruno as his wife, and he has chosen Anko Mitarashi, Tenten, Ino Yamanaka, and Hanabi Hyuga as his secondary wives. The fathers appeared to have been punched in the gut. Sasuke maintained his smug demeanor. You should be proud that Sasuke has chosen your daughters to help rebuild his clan, Koharu continued. Hayashi recovered quickly. Honored, even without my eyes, I can see where this is going. You activated the CRA. To keep myself and Inoichi in line after they witnessed the Uchiha murder an innocent shinobi. Danzu clarified, justifiable homicide. I was acting in self-defense. Justified by the fact that Sasuke now possesses the Meijin Kaiou, Inoichi replied. I refuse to accept this so-called council decision. My daughter is neither a prize nor breeding stock. If Haruno wants to pimp out her daughter, fine, but I will not allow Ino to marry Sasuke. Same with mine, Hayashi agreed. I'd rather marry Orochimaru than be that bastard's wife for a day. Anko snarled. Tsunade yelled, silence. The council has decided, and I have agreed. Your daughters and Tenten will be married off to Sasuke Uchiha by the end of the month. If you do not comply, I will strip you of clan status, and your children will become wards of the village. Either way, the CRA remains in effect, and the girls will be married off to Sasuke Uchiha. Do not test me on this matter, Lord Yamanaka, Lord Hyuga. Please be reasonable, Hanura said calmly, attempting to be the voice of reason. Both of your clans have been in Konoha since Tsunade's grandfather founded the village, which means that your clans are only clans because of your skills. Konoha has been good to your clans since you joined the village, and it would be a shame if that relationship ended so abruptly. Instead of thinking about your own personal, selfish desires, perhaps you should do what's right. Inoichi and Hayashi had both picked up on the underlying meaning. Both fathers looked at their daughters as if they were playing with their daughters' lives. Then Hayashi slowly rose to his feet and stood before the godame and her advisors, Danzu and Sasuke, in a matter of seconds. You are absolutely correct, Advisor Mitokado, he said. The advisors and Sasuke both smiled, until Hayashi reached inside his robes and extracted his Hidai-8. I believe the time has come to do what is right. Hayashi said, dropping his Hidayate, which landed with a loud clink before walking out of the council chambers. Meanwhile, both generations of the Ino Shikacho exchanged nods of understanding. It was time to leave. At the same time, Hanabi removed her own Hidayate and placed it next to her father's. Clink, clink. Neji Hyuga's forehead protector landed on top of his uncle and cousin's Hidayates. Clink. Tenten and Rock Lee's Hidayates collided with those of their teammates. Wait, exclaimed Koharu. You're not capable of doing this. Clink. Inoichi's Hidayate landed on top of the growing heap. Clink. Chuza. Chaoji. Clink. The sound of metal striking the floor enraged Tsunade even more. You are a shinobi of Konoha no Sato. Remember that, exclaimed Koharu. Clink. As they walked out, Ino and Anko both gave Sasuke the finger and dropped their Hidayates. This is sedition. Treason, exclaimed Danzu. Clink. Shikaku and Shikamaru's Hidayates land on the pile simultaneously. No, please accept our resignation, Shikaku said as he and Shikamaru exited the chambers. The Konoha exodus has begun as a result of that act of defiance. Flashback concludes. How about a Ryo for your thoughts? Shikaku Nara's voice brought Hayashi back to reality. Hayashi turned around to face the now former Jounin commander and his two teammates. You've been on edge since we arrived, Shikaku observed. Is there anything we should know that we don't? Hayashi turned to face the three men. It was time to be honest. The West was my clan's ancestral home, he explained. The Hyuga originally came from Kimen, now the Imperial capital. But as the wars became more intense, my clan relocated across the sea to the east and settled in Konoha. In effect, you're returning home, Chuza explained. Hayashi gave a nod. There's more. After the wars here ended and the Pikara merchants began to arrive, I was visited by a member of the merchant house who delivered a message. Both Naruto and my daughter had fled to the west when Uzumaki was banished and fought in the Unification Wars. So the kid is still alive, Shikaku nodded. It's not surprising given who his parents were. Hinata and Naruto had both promised myself and whoever came with the clan political asylum in the west through the merchant if things got out of hand back in Konoha. Inoichi says it sounds like those two have pretty good connections with the Emperor to pull that off. Hayashi gave a nod. It appears that way. Attention. We'll be docking at the Imperial capital in 30 minutes, exclaimed the first mate as he moved along the deck. You will be asked to produce identification upon docking, so have your ID cards ready. Anyone who does not comply will be taken to jail for the night, and you will be sent back east the following morning. Let's not get arrested tonight, people. It looks very bad on my record. Hayashi sighed, his face filled with anticipation. I can't believe I haven't seen Hinata in so long. Come on, Hyuga, Inoichi encouraged. We must prepare. Kimono Harbor. The boat carrying the four clans and a large number of Jounin arrived in Kimen Harbor. The refugees began to disembark once the boat was secured. The gates leading to the Imperial capital were located at the end of the docks. Two guards, one a shinobi and the other a samurai, were stationed at the gates. As the Konoha refugees approached, the samurai, who was older than his shinobi counterpart, studied them. Are you a caravan, a citizen, a pilgrim, a tourist, or? Hayashi took a step forward, holding the scroll. We are eastward refugees, and my daughter sent this scroll through the Pikara merchant house. The two guards scanned the scroll briefly before the shinobi vanished via Shunshin. The shinobi reappeared moments later, accompanied by Yujido and A, the former appearing via Flame Shunshin and the latter via Lightning Shunshin. We'll take over from here, Yujido said. As you direct, General Niai, the shinobi guard returned to his post. Hayashi's pupils constricted. You're Yujido Niai from Kumo, he introduced himself. Isn't he the smart one, kitten? Manatabi remarked sarcastically. Yujido told her tenant to be quiet. Hayashi turned to face and what is the rakeage of Kumo doing working for the Emperor? A clarified, former rakeage. He indicated the Hidayate that was wrapped around one of his biceps. And now with the unified West, he said, motioning to Yujido. She's been here longer than I have, and she even fought in the Unification Wars, which accounts for her rank. Years ago, the Emperor and his wife ... well, they weren't that yet. Rescued me from the Akatsuki, Yujido explained. I fought alongside them before taking command of my own unit. I expected Hinata and Naruto to come here and greet us, Hayashi explained. Plans have changed, Yujido explained. I am to accompany the clan heads and their successors to the Imperial Palace for a meeting with the chief and the lady, while everyone else will follow it to North Kimen. Everything has been prepared for your arrival, so don't worry. Hayashi inquired, what about Naruto and Hinata? They're waiting for you inside the complex. Please follow me. Kimon City's streets. So, what's your story? Ino inquired as Yujiro led the clan heads and their heirs through the Imperial capital's streets. After they rescued me from the Akatsuki, I fought alongside the Emperor and his wife in the Unification Wars, Yujiro explained. It's hard to believe that the Emperor was just a snot-nosed brat 5 years ago. So the rumors are true, and he's about our age, right? Shikamaru inquired. Yup. Shikamaru noticed the Suna consulate, which was identified by the Suna Jounin standing guard at the gates, and the Suna flag, a black background with a white hourglass, hanging out in front. Is the Empire friendly with Suna? He inquired. Yujiro gave a nod. Yes, Suna is friendly with the unified West. Temari is Suna's representative here, and we also have Spring Country and Mist representatives, each with their own consulates and representatives. I grew up hearing stories about the West, Chusa explained. That this place was so dangerous that not even Orochimaru dared to set foot here. But now I see that things aren't as different here as they were back in Konoha, with shinobi and even more samurai than in the East. Yujiro laughed. Those who live in Iron Country are originally from here. I'm surprised Konoha doesn't have a trade treaty with the Empire, Inoichi observed. The Emperor and Empress have eyes and ears in the East, remarked the blonde Jinchuriki. Neither he nor his wife are fans of Konohagakure, and even he recognizes that forming an alliance with a village known for backstabbing and rewarding potential traitors based solely on their bloodlines is a bad political move. Shikamaru clenched his fists. The Pikara merchants, aren't they part of the Empire's spy network? How about you, Nara? Yujiro asked, nodding. Your intelligence is well earned for a slacker, but you are only partially correct. The Pikara merchant house seen in various locations throughout the East is a legitimate mercantile guild, but some of its branches also house undercover informants and agents from our intelligence division. For all intents and purposes, Pikara Merchant House is just a humble merchant's guild. Nice, Hanabi said. Yujiro and her escort arrived at the Imperial complex a few minutes later. The guards saluted Yujiro as she led the group inside with a nod. We've arrived at the Imperial complex, the nerve center of the unified West, and the residence of the Emperor and Empress consort. Chusa looked around and whistled softly. Nice setup, Emperor, not too showy, but also not too extravagant, he said as Yujiro led them to the House of Sovereigns. Shikaku noted, sensing the chakra signatures around them, and it is heavily guarded. The shinobi remained concealed, while the samurai patrolled the grounds. Follow me, Yujiro said. The Emperor and Empress consort are both waiting. Imperial Gardens, a few moments later. Naruto and Hinata Namikaze stood in the shadows, watching as the clan heads and their children took in the sights of the gardens. Hayashi sat pensively, as if they reminded him of something, while Hanabi, Ino, and Inachai marveled at the exotic flowers and orchids, which were rare in the East but common in the West. Shikamaru, Shikaku, Chusa, and Chaoji were taking in their surroundings. Naruto and Hinata emerged from behind the group, standing at double arm's length, having decided that they had kept their guests waiting for too long. Naruto swallowed and cleared his throat. When the clan heads and their children turned around, the last thing they expected to see was the former dead last of the Konoha 11. Only now he was a spitting image of Minato Namikaze with Kushina Uzumaki's hair color, styled in the same manner as Minato had worn it when he was alive. His whisker marks had vanished, and his face had been shaved. The orange was gone, and he was dressed in black vest, pants, and boots. The shirt was white with rolled-up sleeves. Hinata, on the other hand, had surprised even Hayashi. She was dressed in a stunning black cheongsam with a white lotus imprint rather than her shinobi uniform, and she looked incredibly regal. Naruto cast a glance toward the Sekura trees. The samurai believed that the perfect blossom is a rare thing, and that they could spend their entire lives looking for it, and it would not be a wasted life for them. No way, Ino said quietly. Naruto, they call me Emperor here in the West, Naruto replied. Wait, you're the guy who brought the lands together, Chaoji inquired. Who is this Emperor of the West that everyone is talking about in the East? Naruto gave a nod. He then motioned to Hinata. Hinata, who founded the Imperial Medic Corps and fought alongside me, also contributed. To say the clan heads, their children, and Cell 9 were taken aback would be an understatement. The unpredictable knucklehead shinobi, son of the Yellow Flash and the Red Death, had once again lived up to his reputation of making the impossible possible. Naruto, Rock Lee charged forward, engulfing Naruto in a bear hug, much to the delight of his wife and the hidden shinobi guards inside the gardens. You are the Emperor of the West. The flames of youth burn brightly within you. GSCK. Lee. Air, exclaimed Naruto. bushy brows had grown quite thick in the years since he'd left Konoha. "Oh, sorry," Lee said as he let Naruto go. Hinata's family reunion was less dramatic. A hug to her father, who had whispered, "I'm so proud of you, and your mother would be too," was followed by a second hug to Hanabi and a nod to Neji, who reciprocated. Shikamaru laughed and shook his head. "You truly live up to your title of being unpredictable, Naruto." Exactly like his parents, Shikaku agreed. "I'm glad you see so much of my parents in me," Naruto said. "Come along with us," he and Hinata said as they led the group down the garden's pathway, with the clan heads flanking them on either side. Hayashi and Chuza on Hinata's left, and Inochai and Shikaku on Naruto's right. Cell 9, Hanabi, and the Ino Shikacho trailed in their wake. "How was the entrance?" Hinata inquired. Hayashi responded, "Scenic." When he looked down at Hinata's hand, he noticed the diamond ring on Hinata's finger and the gold wedding band on Naruto's. "So, married?" Hinata smiled. "We married 2 years ago during the final battle at South Ikeyama. You two got married during a war. That's insane." Ino overheard. Naruto sighed and shrugged. "It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. The alliance that opposed me was made up of 3 warlords from the southern continent. The first one defected to my side, and the last 2 decided to attack at my base in South Ikeyama. Luckily for me, the Hellcats and Demon Brigade arrived earlier to support the troops I had here. He proposed to me while we were fighting," Hinata continued. "Yujiro conducted the ceremony immediately after, and we did the wedding proper after the war. Once Naruto and I were recognized as Emperor and Empress Consort. I'm sorry to bother you, but..." Shikamaru began, but Naruto cut him off. "You want to know about the Jinchuriki who went missing, right?" Naruto confirmed it for Shikamaru when he nodded. "They are not with the Akatsuki. I intercepted them and granted them political asylum here." "Are all of the Jinchuriki here?" Inochai inquired. "The Jinchuriki are safe, with the exception of Gaara, who is running Suna, and the Biju who was sealed inside Yagura," Naruto confirmed. "You know firsthand the bigotry and discrimination that I faced back in Konoha at the behest of Sarutobi and the 2 Sannin. It was the same in Mist and Iwa. Sure, Yujiro and B were not treated as badly, but the animosity was still there. Han has made his home in the Lajha Mountains, acting as guardian to one of the mountain villages there. Roshi, the last I heard, was somewhere near Tears Point in the... Your actions in Konoha and elsewhere were noticed," Shikaku said. "I understand," Naruto replied. "I rescued Yudakata from Itachi and Hoshigaki, and when Hinata and I fled Konoha, we rescued Yujiro from the zombie brothers. So Orochimaru intends to invade Konoha again?" Hayashi inquired. "Not right now. The civil war in Kumo has left the village weak, and it will take some time for the snake to build up his forces." He and Hinata came to a halt in front of the clan heads. "You 4 were close friends of my parents, and you and the Jounin with you stood up for me when no one else would. And I never got the chance to properly thank you all. No one should ever live their lives like you," Inochai said. "There isn't even a Jinchuriki." Naruto gave a nod. "As you know, I promised that day to repay your kindness, and today I will keep my word. Your families will be granted both citizenship and clan status, effective immediately. And the Jounin who came with you will be granted citizenship in the United West, and will retain it as long as they serve the Unified West as they once served the Leaf." He turned to face Hayashi. "Lord Hyuga, there is one minor issue that must be addressed." Hayashi could only speculate. "The seal of the caged bird." The Emperor gave a nod. "I discovered how to destroy the seal thanks to Hinata. This is my only condition. If you have any problems with the clan council." "The council and their supporters are no longer alive," Lord Emperor Hanabi said. Before returning to the heiress, Naruto and Hinata exchanged glances. "Explain," Hinata demanded. "There was a civil war between those who supported my marriage to the Uchiha under the CRA, which comprised about half of the main branch, and my father and myself, along with the more moderate members of the main branch and the entire cadet branch," Hanabi continued. "We lost half our numbers. Tsunade tried to intervene, but father said it was a clan matter beyond her jurisdiction. I'm sure the old hag didn't take it well, did she?" Naruto wondered. Knowing her, she'd try to force Hanabi to marry Sasuke in order to save father's life, Hinata added. "I'm sure I'd done the same with Ino." Inochai turned pale. "Are you certain that's what Tsunade would have done?" "Most likely," Naruto responded. "Your families and the others have been sent to North Kimen, where Hinata and I will meet with the others once you've settled in." "Wait, Lord Emperor," Ino interjected. "There's another thing." "There's no need for formalities, Ino," Naruto said, smiling broadly. "We're still friends. You and the others can address me by my name in private. but in public, just call me Chief. It's an old nickname I've had since my days as a warlord. Ino gave a nod. Sasuke is in possession of the Meijin Kaiou Sharingan. Naruto nodded slowly. I saw it when I fought him, Hadake, and Yamato, and I'm willing to bet Danzu and those two old freaks who were Sarutobai's teammates had something to do with it, right? Shikamaru gave a nod. Troubling indeed, Naruto. Danzu and those two council advisors had set up one of the genin to be a student of the Uchiha, and the boy, a fresh-faced academy graduate, looked up to the Uchiha in the same way that the Konohamaru Corps once looked up to you. Naruto gave a nod. It was unfortunate that Sarutobai had attempted to use his own grandson and two friends as a link for Naruto to remain loyal to Konoha. When the banishment orders were issued, Konohamaru, Mogi, and Udon revealed their true colors, accusing him of murder and claiming he was the one who murdered Biwako Sarutobai, his grandmother and Hiruzen's wife. The Konohamaru Corps, which had recently made Chunin, was slaughtered by Akatsuki members hidden in Kakuzu in the first year of Naruto's reign, Konohamaru being the recipient of the Jashin ritual and curse jutsu. Sasuke befriended the boy and took him under his wing, Chaoji continued, and they became fast friends. When the boy made Chunin, Sasuke betrayed him by shoving a Chidori into his chest. We know because, aside from Hanabi and the three of us, about 7 Jounin and Anko witnessed Sasuke commit murder. Let me guess, Naruto speculated. You four, the Snake Lady, and the Jounin notified the council, but Danzu and those two cretins swept it under the rug in some way, and Sasuke got off scot-free, and with the Meijin Kaiou. You even appealed to Tsunade herself, and she did nothing. Hanabi and the others nodded. Naruto continued, you told your parents, and they believe you. Are the Jounin who accompanied you here not as enamored with the Uchiha? The trio and Hanabi nodded once more. And when Hayashi and the first generation Ino Shikacho tried to complain to Tsunade, she basically told them to fuck off. The CRA was the final straw, as it is through marriage that the Uchiha can reign in control over the Yamanaka and Hyuga clans. Am I right? The fathers of the girls nodded this time. That idiot of a former teammate is still weak after all this time, Naruto surmised. Itachi's mercy was wasted on him, but I have a buffer against the Sharingan if the situation calls for it. Which is it? Chusa inquired. Are you familiar with the history of the Six-Path Sage, and that the Uchiha and Senju are descended from him? Naruto inquired. Naruto continued after the assembled team nodded. That's a lie. The Six Paths only had one child, a daughter who is the founder of the Uzumaki clan line, and the founders of the Uchiha and Senju lines only trained under him. It was through Madara that he unleashed the Vixen upon Konoha when he fought Hashirama for control of the leaf. Vixen? Hayashi asked again. What do you mean? The Nine Tails is a woman, Naruto confirmed. Don't worry, Kurama isn't here, he added, noticing the clan heads looking around nervously. They let out a sigh of relief. You'll meet her soon enough, but while you're all here, there's something else you should know about the Akatsuki that not even Jiraiya and his information network are aware of. And that is, Inoichi inquired. Itachi is not the only Uchiha member, Naruto stated. There is another, he is the true leader of the Akatsuki. He revealed, looking at the clan heads. Kurama confirmed it for me, the Biju cannot lie. The leader of the Akatsuki is a former teammate of my idiot sensei, and the one most directly responsible for how my life in Konoha had turned out. His name is Obaido Uchiha. The clan heads had obviously recognized the name. Obituary? Chusa repeated. He was on your father's team with Hadake and was said to have died in the previous Shinobi War. Apparently, the reports of his death were false. He goes by the name Tobai, and it was Obaido who unleashed Kurama on Konoha, causing my parents to die, Naruto concluded. Now it's personal, Obaido will perish, and the Akatsuki will fall. What about Sasuke? Hayashi inquired. Naruto deadpanned. He shoved a Chidori into my chest. There is no hope or redemption for him if he decides to become a threat. I will have no problem eliminating him as well. Curious, Neji maneuvered his way around the others and stood before Naruto, the headband removed to reveal the hideous caged bird seal. There are no slaves here, Naruto said, starting a series of hand seals. And no slave addresses the other master. Dispel, seal destruction, he said as he pressed 2 fingers against Neji's seal. Neji felt a mild discomfort rather than a searing pain as the cursed seal purged itself from his body. Hayashi and Hanabi watched in awe as the caged bird seal, which had been thought to be permanent once placed on a Hyuga, burned away. While archaic in nature, the caged bird seal is not as permanent as most people believe, Hinata explained. This was one of the things I had planned to do when I became clan chief, to completely abolish that damned seal. Is the seal ... gone? Neji asked quietly. Tenten, who had moved up to see what was going on, nodded happily. It's gone, yes. Hinata created the hand seal that activated the caged bird seal to demonstrate that the seal had vanished. Hayashi and Hanabi saw Hinata's attempt to activate the seal, but the seal did not activate because it was gone for good. Because Neji was crying tears of joy. Being a Fuinjutsu expert has its advantages, Naruto explained as he pulled out a scroll and handed it to Hayashi. This is the scroll detailing how to remove the seal from the branch members, he said to the others. As of now, all of you are under my protection, but this does not mean that you are given clan status right away. Prove your worth to myself and the council, and we will welcome you as one of the great Imperial clans of the unified West. Sounds reasonable, Hayashi said, as the Ino-Shikacho trio nodded. Good. In the meantime, go get settled. Tomorrow, there will be a meeting with the council at noon, as they want to meet you and your children. Also, tell Ibiki to come, as Zabuza wants to meet him. Hinata and I will have your assignments ready by then. We'll see you guys out. Oh, and we'll talk to you privately about what happened in Konoha, Hinata added. The clan heads and their children nodded once more. So far, the former Genin-turned-ruler's terms have been very generous. The last thing they wanted to do was annoy the emperor and his wife.
I will continue this story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.